Your mind. Right now, it might feel like a city under siege, bombarded by doubt, anxiety, and the relentless noise of a world designed to keep you weak and distracted. You're here because you're tired of the incursions, tired of your mental defenses crumbling under pressure. You're searching for something solid, something unyielding. You're looking for the steel to reinforce your inner citadel. And that's precisely what 10 Stoic truths that fortify your mind will deliver. These aren't gentle suggestions. These are foundational principles, hard-won insights from thinkers who face down chaos and tyranny not with armies, but with an indomitable will. These 10 truths, if you truly integrate them, will not just patch the walls of your mind. They will rebuild it into an impregnable fortress, capable of withstanding any storm life hurls your way. Forget the temporary fixes and the feel-good platitudes. This is about forging genuine, unbreakable mental strength. This is about transforming your mind into a weapon, a shield, and a sanctuary. Prepare to confront some uncomfortable realities, but more importantly, prepare to unlock a level of inner power you never thought possible. Let's begin the fortification. The first Stoic truth, the bedrock upon which all mental fortitude is built, is this: your perception is your battlefield and your kingdom. Understand this. Life itself, the raw, unfiltered events that occur, are neutral. They are neither inherently good nor bad. It is your interpretation, your judgment, your perception of these events that assigns them value, that makes them a source of suffering or a catalyst for strength. This is where the battle for your mind is won or lost. Most people live as slaves to their initial, unexamined reactions. A setback occurs, and they immediately label it a disaster. Someone criticizes them, and they internalize it as a reflection of their worthlessness. They are constantly buffeted by external circumstances because they've surrendered the power of interpretation. The Stoic, however, understands that between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies your power to choose your response. This is your kingdom, the internal domain where you are sovereign. No one can force you to feel anger, despair, or fear without your consent. They can act, they can speak, but the meaning you assign to their actions and words is entirely up to you. Think of it like this. Two men face the same public speaking engagement. One perceives it as a terrifying ordeal, a chance to be humiliated, his mind replaying every possible failure. The other perceives it as an opportunity, a chance to share his ideas, to connect, to grow, even if he stumbles. The event is identical. The perceptions create vastly different realities and vastly different levels of mental stress or empowerment. Ignoring this truth means you remain a puppet, your strings pulled by every random event, every careless word, every societal pressure. You'll be perpetually anxious, easily offended, and mentally fragile. Your mind will be a war-torn city, constantly breached by negativity. But embrace this truth and you reclaim your power. You begin to consciously choose your interpretations. When adversity strikes, instead of "this is terrible," you ask, "How can I use this? What can I learn? How can this make me stronger?" This isn't about delusion or toxic positivity. It's about strategic interpretation. It's about understanding that your mind is the alchemist that can turn lead into gold. The actionable step here is to practice a perception pause. When something challenging happens, before you react emotionally, stop, take a breath, Consciously ask yourself, what is the objective fact here, stripped of my initial judgment? Then, what is the most empowering and useful way I can interpret this situation? Write down your habitual negative interpretations and then actively reframe them. Train your mind to see the opportunity within the obstacle, the lesson within the pain. Your perception is your first line of defense. Make it impenetrable. The second Stoic truth that will armor your mind is, discomfort is the currency of growth. Our modern world is obsessed with comfort. We seek it in our temperature-controlled homes, our readily available entertainment, our avoidance of difficult conversations and challenging tasks. But this relentless pursuit of ease has a hidden cost. It makes us soft. It erodes our resilience. The mind, like a muscle, atrophies without resistance. The Stoics knew that true mental fortitude isn't found in a life devoid of hardship. It's forged in the deliberate embrace of discomfort. Voluntary hardship, willingly stepping outside your comfort zone, is the price you pay for a stronger, more adaptable mind. When you consistently avoid what's difficult, your tolerance for any kind of stress plummets. The smallest inconvenience feels like a major crisis. Your mental armor becomes paper-thin. Consider the person who never challenges themselves physically. The first time they have to run for a bus or lift something heavy, they are winded and weak. The mind is no different. If you only engage in easy, familiar mental tasks when a complex problem or an emotional trial arises, your mind will buckle. Ignoring this truth leads to a life of quiet desperation, a shrinking world where you are increasingly afraid of anything that demands effort or resilience. You become a prisoner of your own comfort, your potential untapped, your spirit diminished. Embracing this truth, however, is transformative. It means actively seeking out challenges. This could be physical, taking cold showers, fasting intermittently, pushing your limits in exercise. It could be mental, learning a new skill, engaging in rigorous study, tackling complex projects. It could be emotional, having that difficult conversation, facing a fear, practicing patience in frustrating situations. Each act of voluntary discomfort is like a hammer blow, shaping and strengthening the steel of your character. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to practice even the things which you despair of achieving. Why? Because the effort itself builds capacity. When you willingly expose yourself to discomfort, you recalibrate your baseline. What once seemed unbearable becomes manageable. You develop a quiet confidence that you can handle whatever life throws at you, because you've proven it to yourself time and time again in smaller, self-imposed trials. The actionable step: identify one area of your life where you consistently seek comfort and avoid discomfort. This week, deliberately choose the uncomfortable path in that area just once. Maybe it's taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Maybe it's initiating a conversation you've been dreading. Maybe it's sitting in silence for 15 minutes without your phone. Start small, but be consistent. Document how you feel before, during, and after. You'll discover that the anticipation is often worse than the reality, and the feeling of accomplishment, the small infusion of strength, is addictive. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is your most potent teacher and your most reliable blacksmith. The third Stoic truth, crucial for a mind that is not just strong but also effective, is The present moment is your only arena. So much of our mental energy is wasted, utterly squandered on two thieves, the past and the future. We endlessly ruminate on past mistakes, regrets, and hurts, replaying them like a broken record, allowing them to poison our present. Or we project ourselves into the future, consumed by anxieties, worries, and what-ifs, trying to control outcomes that haven't even materialized. This mental time travel leaves our actual point of power, the present moment, deserted and neglected. The Stoics understood that the past is unchangeable and the future is unknowable. The only place where you have agency, where you can act, where you can make a difference, is right now. A mind fortified by Stoicism is a mind anchored in the present. This isn't about ignoring lessons from the past or failing to plan for the future. It's about not allowing them to hijack your current state of being and your capacity for action. Imagine a warrior in battle. If he's dwelling on a previous defeat or worrying about whether he'll survive the next encounter, his focus is split, his reactions dulled. He's vulnerable. The effective warrior is entirely present, his senses sharp, his actions decisive, responding to what is, not what was or might be. Your daily life is your battlefield. Ignoring this truth means your mind becomes a chaotic whirlwind of regrets and anxieties. You'll suffer from decision paralysis, procrastination, and a pervasive sense of being overwhelmed. Your energy will be dissipated, your focus shattered. You'll live a life of mental friction and inefficiency, never truly engaging with the reality in front of you. Embracing this truth, however, brings profound clarity and power. When you train your mind to focus on the present, you unlock incredible reserves of energy and effectiveness. Tasks that seemed daunting become manageable when you tackle them one moment at a time. Difficult emotions become less overwhelming when you simply observe them as they are in the present, without adding layers of past baggage or future fear. The actionable step here is to practice dedicated mindfulness, but with a Stoic edge. It's not just about passively observing, it's about engaging fully with the task at hand. If you're working, work. If you're listening, listen. If you're resting, rest. When you find your mind drifting to the past or future, gently but firmly bring it back. Use anchors like your breath or the physical sensations of your current activity. Epictetus said, "We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens." By grounding your thoughts in the present, you minimize the disturbances. Start with single tasking. For a set period, do only one thing with your full attention. No phone, no distractions. Reclaim your focus. The present moment is where your strength is applied. Master it, and you master your mind. The fourth Stoic truth, which forms the very core of your inner citadel, is your character is your unbreakable fortress. In a world obsessed with external achievements, wealth, status, possessions, appearance, the Stoics offered a radical counter-narrative. The only true good is virtue, and the most valuable possession you have is your character. External things can be taken from you. Your health can fail, your wealth can vanish, your reputation can be unjustly tarnished. But your character, your commitment to wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, that is something no one can touch unless you allow them to. This is your internal fortress, the one stronghold that can withstand any siege. A mind fortified by this truth doesn't crumble when external circumstances change. If you lose your job but you acted with integrity and did your best, your character remains intact. If you face criticism but you know you spoke the truth with courage, your inner fortress holds. This internal compass, this commitment to living virtuously, provides an unshakable foundation for mental stability and peace. Think about historical figures who endured unimaginable hardship, the political prisoners, exiles, those facing execution. Many of them, like Seneca or Boethius, found solace and strength not in hoping for a change in their external fate, but in cultivating their inner response, in maintaining their dignity, their reason, their virtue, even in the face of death. Their character was their final, inviolable refuge. Ignoring this truth leaves you terrifyingly vulnerable. If your sense of self-worth is tied to your job title, your bank balance, or the opinions of others, you are building your house on sand. The moment those externals shift, your mental world collapses. You become a weather vane, constantly spinning to please others, to acquire more, to protect fleeting gains, living in perpetual fear of loss. But when you prioritize the cultivation of your character above all else, you build an inner resilience that is truly formidable. You make decisions based not on fleeting desires or fear of consequences, but on your core principles. This creates a profound sense of inner alignment and strength. You become less reactive to praise or blame because your validation comes from within, from knowing you are striving to be the best version of yourself. The actionable step: identify the 4 cardinal Stoic virtues: wisdom, understanding what is good, bad, and indifferent; justice, treating others with fairness and integrity; courage, facing fear and adversity with resolve; and temperance, moderation and self-control. Each day, pick one small way you can actively practice one of these virtues. Perhaps it's courage in speaking up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. Perhaps it's temperance in resisting an unhealthy indulgence. Perhaps it's wisdom in choosing a thoughtful response over an angry outburst, or justice in giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Keep a journal of these small acts of character. Over time, these conscious choices will forge your character into an unbreakable fortress, the ultimate source of your mental strength. The 5th Stoic truth, a brutal but liberating one for the modern mind, is: external validation is a gilded cage. We are social creatures, and a desire for acceptance is natural. But in our hyper-connected, comparison-driven world, this natural desire has mutated into a ravenous addiction for external validation. Likes, followers, praise, approval from peers, superiors, even strangers. Many people desperately chase these things as if they were oxygen. They tailor their words, their actions, even their beliefs to curry favor and avoid disapproval. The Stoics saw this for what it is: a form of slavery. If your peace of mind, your sense of self-worth, depends on the opinions of others, then you are not free. You have handed the keys to your mental well-being to people whose judgments are often fickle, misinformed, or even malicious. You live in a gilded cage. It might look shiny on the outside, adorned with compliments and social acceptance, but it's a cage nonetheless, restricting your authentic expression and your inner strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, to make it just and holy." This isn't about becoming a recluse or treating others with contempt. It's about shifting your locus of evaluation from external to internal. Your focus should be on acting in accordance with your own principles, on doing good work for its own sake, not for the applause it might garner. Ignoring this truth means you will live a life of performance, not presence. You will constantly second-guess yourself, terrified of judgment. Your energy will be drained by trying to manage others' perceptions of you. Your mind will be a fragile thing, easily shattered by criticism or indifference. You will lack the conviction to stand for anything unpopular or difficult, because the fear of disapproval will always win. Embracing this truth, however, is profoundly empowering. When you detach your self-worth from external validation, you unlock a new level of freedom and mental resilience. Criticism might still sting, but it won't devastate you because your sense of value is anchored internally. You can make bold decisions, pursue unconventional paths, and speak your truth without constantly looking over your shoulder. Your mind becomes your own, not a reflection of what others want it to be. The actionable step: practice intentional indifference to external validation in small ways. For one day, make a conscious effort not to check for likes or comments on social media. When you complete a task, focus on your own satisfaction with the effort and the outcome, before seeking anyone else's opinion. If you receive praise, accept it gracefully, but then mentally remind yourself that your worth isn't dependent on it. If you receive criticism, analyze it objectively for any useful feedback, discard the rest, and don't let it derail your inner peace. The goal is to train yourself to be your own primary evaluator, to find satisfaction in effort and integrity, not in applause. This breaks the bars of the gilded cage and fortifies your mind against the vacillating opinions of the crowd. The sixth Stoic truth, a principle that turns victims into victors, is: obstacles are merely raw material for strength. Life is inherently challenging. You will face setbacks, failures, betrayals, and losses. This is not a pessimistic view, it's a realistic one. The crucial difference lies in how you meet these obstacles. Most people see an obstacle as a roadblock, a reason to give up, a sign that they are not meant to succeed. Their minds recoil, weaken, and descend into frustration or despair. The Stoic, however, has a radically different perspective, famously encapsulated by Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles are not to be avoided or merely endured. They are to be used. They are the raw material from which strength, wisdom, and resilience are forged. Every challenge, every difficulty, contains within it an opportunity to practice virtue, to learn, to adapt, and to grow stronger. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. It's the repeated heating in the fire, the violent hammering, the quenching in cold water, the intense, stressful processes that transform a lump of raw iron into a strong, sharp, and resilient blade. Your mind is no different. Smooth seas don't make skillful sailors. Easy lives don't build strong characters. It is in grappling with difficulties that your mental muscles are developed. Ignoring this truth leads to a fragile, defeatist mindset. You will become easily discouraged, seeing every problem as proof of your inadequacy or the unfairness of life. You'll avoid challenges, stagnate, and your mind will remain brittle, easily broken by the inevitable adversities. But if you internalize this truth, your entire relationship with hardship changes. An obstacle is no longer a source of dread, but a signal that an opportunity for growth is at hand. When you encounter resistance, your first thought isn't "I can't," but "How can I? What does this demand of me? What virtue can I practice here?" Patience, creativity, courage, perseverance. This mindset shift is profoundly empowering. It turns every problem into a potential stepping stone. The actionable step. The next time you face a significant obstacle, a project failing, a difficult relationship, a personal setback, consciously apply the "obstacle is the way" framework. First, accept its reality without denial or excessive complaint. Second, analyze it. What aspects are within your control? What aspects are not? Third, and most importantly, ask yourself, how can I use this? What positive action can I take, not in spite of this obstacle, but because of it? What can this teach me? How can this make me stronger, wiser, or more resilient? Frame the obstacle not as a barrier, but as a specific training exercise designed to develop a particular quality in you. This reframing doesn't make the obstacle disappear, but it changes its nature from a destructive force to a constructive one, fortifying your mind with each encounter. The seventh Stoic truth, essential for maintaining composure and clarity under pressure, is emotional reactivity is a sign of inner weakness. We live in a culture that often glorifies emotional outbursts as signs of passion or authenticity. But from a Stoic perspective, being constantly jerked around by your emotions, lashing out in anger, sinking into despair at the slightest provocation, being swept away by fear or desire, is not strength, but a profound vulnerability. It indicates a mind that is not under its own command, but is instead a slave to fleeting impulses and external triggers. The Stoics were not emotionless robots. They experienced the full range of human feelings. The difference lay in their response to those feelings. They aimed for apatheia, often mistranslated as apathy, but more accurately meaning a state of tranquility and equanimity, free from aversive passions and disturbing emotions. This isn't about suppressing emotions, which is unhealthy, but about understanding them, scrutinizing them, and choosing not to be governed by their initial, raw intensity. A strong mind observes its emotions without being consumed by them. It decides whether an emotional response is rational, proportionate, and helpful, and then acts accordingly. Think of a skilled rider controlling a powerful horse. The horse emotion has immense energy, but without the rider's reason's guidance, it can bolt, throw the rider, or run into danger. The rider doesn't kill the horse. He learns to understand it, to guide its energy constructively. Your emotions are like that horse. Untamed, they lead to chaos and regret. Mastered, they can fuel purposeful action. Ignoring this truth means you are perpetually at the mercy of your moods. Your relationships will suffer from your outbursts. Your decisions will be clouded by irrational fears or desires. Your mental energy will be constantly depleted by emotional storms, leaving you exhausted and ineffective. You become predictable and easily manipulated by those who know how to push your emotional buttons. Embracing this truth allows you to cultivate a calm, clear, and resilient mind. When strong emotions arise, you don't immediately act on them. You pause. You examine the underlying judgment causing the emotion. Is it true? Is it rational? Is this emotional intensity helpful or harmful in this situation? This process of rational scrutiny allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This creates an inner space of calm, even amidst external turmoil. It fortifies your mind by making it less susceptible to emotional hijacking. The actionable step: practice the Stoic pause and scrutinize. When you feel a strong negative emotion welling up, anger, frustration, anxiety, before you speak or act, stop. Take a deep breath. Name the emotion. Then ask yourself Epictetus's key question: is this emotion about something within my control or outside of my control? If it's outside your control, then intense emotional agitation is irrational and unhelpful. If it's within your control, then focus your energy on a rational, constructive action, not on the raw emotion itself. Ask, what judgment is leading to this feeling? Is that judgment accurate and helpful? This practice isn't about becoming unfeeling. It's about becoming the master of your feelings, not their slave, thereby building an incredibly strong and stable mental core. The eighth Stoic truth, which clarifies your role in the grand scheme of things and empowers focused action, is: the universe is indifferent, your will is sovereign. This can sound harsh, but it's profoundly liberating. Many people suffer because they believe the universe, or fate, or other people owe them something: happiness, success, fairness. They get angry or despondent when life doesn't unfold according to their expectations, as if some cosmic contract has been violated. The Stoics understood that the universe operates according to its own nature, its own causal laws, and it is largely indifferent to your personal desires and preferences. Earthquakes happen, storms rage, people act unexpectedly, fortunes change. These are not personal attacks. They are simply the nature of things. Trying to control or change these externals or lamenting their occurrence is a recipe for constant frustration and mental weakness. It's like shouting at the rain to stop. However, while you cannot control the vast majority of external events, you have absolute sovereignty over one critical domain: your own will, your choices, your judgments, your actions. This is your sphere of power. A mind fortified by Stoicism accepts the indifference of the universe and focuses its entire energy on what it can control: its internal responses and its deliberate actions. This is the famous dichotomy of control. Some things are up to us and some things are not up to us. Our opinions, aspirations, desires, aversions, these are up to us. Our body, possessions, reputation, office, these are not up to us, or at least not entirely. Wasting mental energy fretting over or trying to force things not up to us is the primary source of human misery and weakness. Ignoring this truth means you will live a life of perpetual victimhood, blaming external factors for your unhappiness and failures. You'll feel powerless, adrift in a chaotic world. Your mind will be constantly agitated by things you cannot change, draining your precious energy. Embracing this truth, however, brings an incredible sense of freedom and focus. When you truly accept that you cannot control outcomes, only your efforts and responses, a huge burden is lifted. You are free to act with courage and integrity, knowing that you've done your part, regardless of the result. Your mental energy is no longer squandered on the uncontrollable, but is channeled with laser-like precision into your choices, your work, your character development. This is where true strength lies, not in bending the world to your will, but in mastering your own. The actionable step: make a list of your current worries or sources of stress. For each item, honestly categorize it: within my direct control, partially within my control influence, or completely outside my control. For anything completely outside your control, practice Stoic acceptance. Acknowledge it, accept it as a feature of reality, and consciously decide to withdraw your emotional investment from it. For things partially within your control, identify the specific actions you can take and focus solely on those. For things within your direct control, your thoughts, your efforts, your responses, devote your full attention and energy. This regular exercise will train your mind to distinguish between what you can and cannot change, fortifying it by concentrating its power where it truly matters, on your sovereign will. The ninth Stoic truth: a counterintuitive principle for achieving profound mental resilience and contentment, is true wealth is measured in what you can do without. Our consumerist society relentlessly bombards us with the message that happiness and security come from acquisition: more money, more possessions, more status symbols. We are conditioned to believe that our well-being is directly proportional to what we own. This creates a perpetual cycle of desire, acquisition, fleeting satisfaction, and then renewed desire, often leading to anxiety about losing what we have or not getting what we want. The Stoics proposed a radically different definition of wealth. True wealth, they argued, is not about how much you have, but about how little you need. It's about cultivating an inner sufficiency, a contentment that is independent of external possessions. The person who has trained themselves to desire little, to be content with simple things, is far richer and more mentally fortified than the person who has vast material wealth but is enslaved by their attachment to it and their fear of losing it. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." A mind that constantly craves more is a mind in a state of perpetual lack, regardless of its material circumstances. It's a mind vulnerable to loss, envy, and the endless treadmill of desire. This internal poverty creates mental fragility. Ignoring this truth means you will be forever chasing external markers of success, finding that they never quite deliver the lasting peace or security you seek. You'll be anxious about your possessions, comparing yourself to others, and your mental state will fluctuate with the stock market or your latest purchase. Embracing this truth, however, leads to an extraordinary sense of freedom and mental resilience. When you consciously practice detachment from material things and cultivate an appreciation for what you already have, you significantly reduce your vulnerability to external fortune. If you can be content with simple food, simple pleasures, and few possessions, then economic downturns or personal losses of property have far less power to disturb your inner peace. Your mind, unburdened by excessive desire and fear of loss, becomes stronger, more stable, and more focused on what truly matters: virtue, relationships, and meaningful contribution. The actionable step: practice voluntary simplicity or negative visualization in a tangible way. For a short period, a day, a weekend, deliberately live with less. Eat simple food. Forgo a luxury you usually enjoy. Mentally contemplate losing some of your valued possessions, not to be morbid, but as Epictetus advised, to remind yourself that they are externals and that your core self can endure without them. Ask yourself, what do I truly need to live a good life? You might discover that your list of genuine needs is far shorter than your list of wants. This practice isn't about forced asceticism, but about training your mind to find contentment from within, thereby fortifying it against the anxieties of acquisition and loss. It builds an inner wealth that no external circumstance can diminish. The 10th and final Stoic truth, perhaps the most powerful catalyst for a fortified and purposeful mind, is your mortality is your greatest motivator. The thought of death is uncomfortable for many. We tend to avoid it, to push it to the recesses of our minds. But the Stoics saw the contemplation of mortality, memento mori. Remember you will die, not as a morbid obsession, but as an essential tool for living a virtuous, meaningful, and urgent life. The awareness that your time is finite is the ultimate antidote to procrastination, triviality, and the squandering of your precious days. When you truly internalize the reality of your own death, it clarifies your priorities like nothing else. Petty grievances, mindless distractions, the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, these things shrink in importance when viewed against the backdrop of your limited lifespan. Memento mori doesn't make you fearful, it makes you focused. It compels you to ask, am I using my time well? Am I living in accordance with my values? Am I making a difference? Am I becoming the person I want to be? A mind that forgets its mortality is prone to laziness, to putting things off until tomorrow, to getting bogged down in an endless stream of non-essential activities. It lacks urgency and a deep appreciation for the present moment. It is, in a sense, a weaker, less engaged mind. Ignoring this truth means you risk sleepwalking through your life, deferring your dreams, neglecting your character, and arriving at your end filled with regret for the chances not taken and the life not fully lived. You allow the trivial to crowd out the essential. Embracing this truth, however, infuses your life with an unparalleled sense of purpose and intensity. It fortifies your mind by stripping away the superfluous and highlighting what truly matters. It encourages courage, because if life is short, why not dare greatly? It promotes kindness and justice, because our interactions are fleeting and should be meaningful. It drives you to cultivate your virtues, because your character is the only legacy that truly endures. As Seneca wrote, let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. The actionable step: integrate a memento mori practice into your routine. This doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be as simple as having a small object on your desk, a skull, an hourglass, even just a note that reminds you of your mortality. Or spend a few minutes each morning or evening reflecting on the finite nature of your time. Ask yourself, if this were my last day, how would I act? What would I prioritize? Am I living in a way that I would be proud of? Let this awareness not lead to despair, but to a renewed commitment to live fully, virtuously, and with purpose today. This constant reminder will cut through distractions, galvanize your will, and forge a mind that is not only strong but also profoundly engaged with the art of living. These 10 Stoic truths are not intellectual curiosities. They are foundational pillars for a mind that is not just resilient, but truly fortified, capable of navigating the complexities and challenges of modern life with strength, clarity, and purpose. 10 Stoic truths that fortify your mind has laid them bare for you. We've explored how your perception is your kingdom, how discomfort is the currency of growth, and why the present moment is your only arena. We've uncovered the unbreakable fortress of your character and the gilded cage of external validation. You now understand that obstacles are raw material for strength, that emotional reactivity is weakness, that the universe is indifferent but your will is sovereign. You've seen how true wealth is measured in what you can do without, and how your mortality is your greatest motivator. But knowing these truths is not enough. The Stoics were men of action, not just theory. The real work begins now in the consistent application of these principles to the messy, unpredictable reality of your daily existence. Each truth demands practice, conscious effort, and a willingness to confront your old patterns of thought and behavior. This isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong commitment to forging an indomitable spirit. So the question is not whether these truths are powerful. Their enduring relevance for over 2 millennia attests to that. The question is whether you will choose to embody them. Will you commit to the daily training required to build your mental fortress, stone by hard-won stone? Will you embrace the discomfort, master your perceptions, and live with virtue and purpose? The path to an unshakable mind is laid out. It is challenging, yes, but the alternative, a life of mental fragility, reactivity, and unfulfilled potential, is far more costly. Choose strength. Choose resilience. Choose to fortify your mind with these timeless Stoic truths. Start today. Pick one truth, one actionable step, and implement it with unwavering resolve. Your future self, the one standing strong amidst the storms of life, will thank you for it. Go forward and build your fortress.